Welcome, dear listeners, to another powerful episode of Pleasure Principles. I'm your host, Avik, and your co conspirator in building the relationships that are kind, courageous, and deliciously alive. Yes. So, with me, two lovely guests I have, Dr. Emmy and Roy Clark. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's great being here.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce with Dr. Emmy and Roy, the married duo behind the Four Intimacies and area luxury brands.
Yeah.
So, their work is elegant and doable. So, verbal, emotional, physical, and the spiritual intimacy, which is translated into tiny, beautiful rituals couples can actually keep. So, from a designer glass bottle of luxury lubricant to intimacy question cards, I'd say tucked inside, their brand turns desire into a habit that you can see, reach for, and enjoy, right? So, dear listeners, we will explore like how to reignite the long-term desire, why luxury is actually about the attention, not excess, right? And how small nightly rituals compound into deep connection. So, expect to have a deep conversation with our lovely guests. So, I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get discussion. Welcome to the show.
Wonderful. That was a wonderful intro. Great job.
Thank you. So I'll quickly start with Dr. Emmy. So, Dr. Emmy, like in your framework, the verbal intimacy is not just about talking, but it's the truthful speech that is safe, specific, and generous. So, from there, I mean, if you can share, like, what does the good verbal intimacy sound like on an ordinary Tuesday night?
So, I think the key to verbal intimacy is getting beyond logistics and getting beyond the surface. A lot of our couples say, we talk all the time, but you're talking about the kids or the schedule, or you're giving one word answers and you kind of fail to share what feelings are underneath everything. There's a line in our book that we say, it's the degree to which you're known is the degree to which you can be loved.
Mm.
And a lot of people keep things inside. I don't want anyone to know the scary parts, the embarrassing parts, the ugly parts, and to be able to have that exclusivity. I don't share all of that with the public.
Right.
That's shared with my partner. And so to come home and be able to talk authentically to my spouse and share all of me, that allows him to know all of me and love all of me.
And one of the principles that we teach to foster that is there's a sentence that we encourage people to tattoo it on their arms. It's just that prominent. No, not really, but the sentence goes like this: we ask questions and listen with the intent to understand and a willingness to be influenced. So there's four parts of that, right? But what we encourage couples, no matter whether they're brand new in their relationship or if they've been together for 30 years, always be exploring, always ask questions and then be quiet and listen. So many times we ask questions with an intent, like I'm going to ask a question, but I know what I want to get across.
Or I know what you're going to say.
Right. And that's not what we're looking at. Like if I ask Amy a question, I'm just going to wait and hear her out and let her speak. My goal is to understand, how was her day? What is she feeling right now? What concerns does she have for tomorrow? But there's a ton of questions and listening to make that verbal intimacy so authentic. Wouldn't you say, babe?
Yeah. And I think that the nonverbal cues are also very important.
Right.
A lot of couples are sitting there thumbing through the mail or scrolling on their phone or looking out the window. And true verbal intimacy is bodies towards each other, eye contact,
Right.
patience, yearning to know more, a curiosity.
Yeah. We
I
just
thought-
had a couple in this morning, and we had to say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Turn your body towards her. Put your arm up on the couch. And he's like, okay. And no, turn your whole body, face her. He's like, oh, okay. And then we said to his wife, all right, now I want you to put your hand on his knee. Okay, now ask this question. And so they did what we asked them to do. And even though they were told to do it, it was natural for them. It was comfortable for them. It was like, oh, yeah, this does feel good. And so those tiny little acts totally create a whole new environment of safety, of authenticity, of paying attention, being fully present. And so those nonverbal cues are absolutely
They
essential.
say that 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
Yeah.
So Roy was like, uncross your arms, because when people are closed off, arms crossed, and they like the foot bouncing, that looks very impatient. You feel like, okay, I better hurry up and talk,
Right.
because I'm going to lose your attention. But just to slow everybody down, in the tenser the conversation, the slower the cadence is. Take your time.
Right. And they would look over at us and we'd be like, no, look at each other. Eye to eye. You've got this. And they've been together 25 years and they're still kind of uncomfortable looking at each other because it's been their way of life just to kind of, she's cooking, he's running around the house, he's cleaning, whatever it is. No. Our practice is that we call it the library. We do not have a big old library in our house. It's a bookshelf and 2 chairs, but we go to the library, we face each other, there's no distractions. And that's where verbal intimacy is born.
Lovely. The verbal intimacy, and also I loved, what you mentioned about today's client, whom you guided. Like that, if may I ask, uh, for those, for those couples who feel a kind of bit, I'd say, rusty or tense, but what kind of single sentence kind of things you can guide them today? They can do it today night.
Sure. What would you say? That single sentence? Well, we would go back to we would encourage people to ask questions and listen more than anything. I want you to just be able to, because when you're listening, you're truly listening, then you're going to position yourself to wait and look, right? And so many people ask a question and they wander off in their thoughts, sometimes with their body.
Yeah.
But even just saying, like, if tensions are high, I think setting the intention for the conversation, babe, can we sit down and talk? I really want to connect. I feel a little disconnect lately, and I want to make sure that we get back on track. And can we come together and just really have a deep conversation and explore and try to keep the tensions low?
Right.
And then just making that commitment of, I just really want to listen and understand, and we're both going to try not to be defensive and react.
Right.
But sometimes couples get to that point where it's just even the little things at home. If you're fighting over the dishes, then sometimes you need to come in and have an observer or somebody to kind of moderate the conversation. And that
Yeah, that helps.
we did that twice today already, where it's like, okay, hold on a second. And then we can interpret, or they can speak to us. And then we say, here's what I hear you saying. And then we turn towards each other, and Roy and I will say, okay, this is what it sounds like.
Here's how I would approach her.
Yeah.
Darling, do you mind if can we just take a moment? I want to run a couple of things past you.
Sure.
It's I've been setting out my intention. The other thing that we encourage couples to do, and it's actually not in the book, I don't think. Maybe it is, and I forgot about it, but we tell couples, take things in little chunks, right? Don't share your entire day and all that you... No. We use this analogy of playing catch with each other. You pass a ball to each other. It's no fun if one person holds onto the ball the whole time, right? And so just give each other little chunks back and forth. And that helps a ton of couples with their verbal intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're like tapas, not the buffet.
Right.
Bite-sized pieces. And then one other tool I would say that we love is the 5% rule.
Yeah.
So 95% of what we're talking about is in real time and doesn't need a special occasion or like a carved out serious conversation. But if there's something that I'm ruminating on, that I have been thinking about over and over again, I'm either afraid to say it or I'm afraid of the reaction.
Yeah.
Then we will say, can we have a 5% conversation? And that's code for this is a serious talk. It's hard for me to say. It might be hard for you to hear.
Brace yourself a
Yeah.
little bit.
Brace for impact. And we are going to try to get out that last 5%. And so we are very patient in that conversation. And so we make sure that the kids are in bed, the TV's off, there's no interruption. We don't have to rush out the door.
Phones put away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's our code for this is serious and I love you and I don't want any invisible wall to be between us.
Right.
And that's what the little things that we keep hidden. They're like a fishing story that, when you catch the fish, it's this big. And every time you tell the story,
It just gets bigger and bigger.
and lies in our head do the same thing. So we'll say, babe, can I purge a thought with you? I know this isn't true.
Okay.
And then I just expose the lie. And then together as a team, we will protect our relationship from some of these little thoughts that want to take root in the head.
Yeah. Does that answer your questions? Does that help?
Beautiful, I'd say. I love that specificity because, definitely, I'd love to tell to the listeners that please borrow this and try it.
Yeah.
And if your first try feels kind of clunky, then it's great. Like at least you have started, right? You are practicing the intimacy,
Right.
and you're not just following something and different, right? So just do it. I mean, it's a great way. As I mentioned, I really love that. Really love that,
Good.
bro.
We
And
tell people, sorry.
yeah, please.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, we tell people that it's like learning a different language. Intimacy is its own language. And if we get that through our head, like if I was trying to learn Italian, I'm not going to expect to read a couple paragraphs in a book and then just come out speaking it fluently. And I'm going to be clumsy with it. And the only way that I'm going to become fluent is to practice. So being patient, because couples will come in and say, you're just saying that because Roy and Amy told you to. Like, yes, that's why we're paying them to just this new language. Absolutely. And so at first it can sound a little robotic or a little forced, and it is at first. But just to know that that's part of the process, and then eventually it just starts to feel normal. But people will come in and we'll say, hold on, this is how we would say it to each other. And they look at us and say, oh, we don't talk like that. And we're like, we know, that's why you're here.
Right. That's what brought you here into counseling. So, but beautiful.
Lovely, really, really lovely. And like we talked about the verbal intimacy, I'd also love to discuss about the emotional intimacy as well. Like, it might sound contradictory, but I thought like let's discuss this. Like some people, and specific to Roy for you, like some people they might say that share everything always, and while others also warn that over processing or oversharing sometimes kills the attraction, right? So what do you suggest? Like, what will be the line between that emotional honesty and also about sharing or oversharing
Right.
that? And if you can say,
Yeah. So we would say that each intimacy unlocks the next intimacy. And so intimacy, for the most part, just means getting on the same page.
Yeah.
So it's this back and forth conversation. And so I am always reading my wife, right? We're always reading the person that we're talking to. And as we're talking, I'm actually looking for her emotions so that I can get on the same page as her emotion. Now, that doesn't mean that I feel exactly the way that she feels, right? But if I see that she's a little bit anxious, I say, babe, are you anxious about something? And then she can answer the question, right? Well, yeah, I was feeling this. And then I empathize and I say, yeah, I, I would be anxious too. There's always this give and take, right? And if I'm talking too much, she's going to simply put her hand up and be like, can I share? Right? Yeah, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my I usually read it, but sometimes I don't. Then I'm going, okay, yep, it's your turn to talk. And so I think that as couples can read each other, they can identify each other's emotions. I'm not sure you can be too transparent because you're going to be going back and forth.
Well,
Does that make sense?
yeah, but I thought maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought you were saying, like, do I have to share every single thought that runs through my head? And I would say,
Uh,
no.
no, what I was saying, like people might say, few people might say that if I share everything, then it will be kind of processing of a lot of data. So
Mhm.
it
Oh,
still definitely kills the attraction. So yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, well, back to what Dr. Amy said, the more we know about you, the more we can love. And so I'm going to share the majority of all my life with her, right? I'm just not going to do it all at once. And so there's this give and take back and forth. I'm going to learn more about you. You're going to learn more about me. And that's for couples that have been married for 40 years, been together for 40 years. Every season's a new season. And so you're going to continue to explore each
mm,
other. You're going to learn new things every day. You know, couples become roommates because they stop asking questions. And so as
But
long as I can identify and empathize what she's feeling, that unlocks the next intimacy. You were going to say, babe?
yeah. And I think that, like, as you learn and explore and incorporate new things into the relationship, it doesn't get stale. But we are always a work in progress. And so if you are going to be in a long term relationship, just you can trust that there's going to be enough seasons and changes that you will always have something new to talk about. And then I think that that exclusivity of I know that I am Roy's person, I know everything about him, but we keep a lot of that stuff private. So that I feel special in the fact that he shares his whole heart with me. And then when we're out with other people, I know the behind the scenes story, and so that makes me feel very privileged.
so from there, like when you are talking about the long-term relationship, so uh, the desire, right? So
Mhm.
desire and need, there were two things. So uh, desire comes on the choice, and also need often, I believe, it's kind of pressure also sometimes. So uh, what do you think? How do couples move from being the need part for the logistic, or for being desired for their likeness? So uh, what do you say on this?
Well, I would say that the more that you communicate, the more you get on the same page, right? One on one with each other. And the more you identify each other's emotion, you have this incredible bond, right? And you're able to see each other's needs. You
Yeah.
recognize that you've got the strength to empower them.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, like, let's go to the next intimacy, right? Physical intimacy. So we would say physical intimacy, you provide two things. You provide security and
Mm.
pleasure. And the more security you provide, the greater the pleasure. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's some basic science or basic research would say it takes a woman about 20 minutes to get warmed up and to have an
Mhm.
orgasm. But when she is feeling secure, she is more likely to have an orgasm sooner and more often. Well, that's because we're providing security. It's like if I meet her needs, which is verbal and emotional intimacy, then that desire just grows.
Right.
Would you say it, babe?
Yeah. So for women, um, that security is emotional security. I trust you with my emotions. I trust you with my body. I trust that you're going to be kind and respectful and
Yeah.
So when we say security to guys, guys are like, "What? I'm never gonna hurt you," or "I lock the door," and we're like, "No, we're not talking about that."
I provided a job. I've got a job. I provide an income.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that emotional security. Something unlocks in us where then we are open.
Mm.
Guys are a little different. I feel like guys can they could start with physical intimacy and then work the lock backward.
Or we could just stay there.
Yeah, or just stay there. But for women especially,
Absolutely.
it is verbal, emotional, physical.
And I think that, that misunderstanding about guys is that they could just live on physical all their life.
It's not true.
That's a myth. We
Yeah.
absolutely need emotional connection and verbal connection as well. So, I mean,
Exactly. I truly agree because it's definitely a myth and it's a misconception that guys only uh, stay on the physical, but it's not. Guys also need the emotional and the verbal as well because we from the above we might sound like it's different, it's harsh, it's hard, but actually from inside they also need the same thing. So
right. We
so,
just were not taught by our fathers and their fathers and their fathers how to connect emotionally. There was, when we were cavemen, we were killing things and we weren't crying about it. Okay. But now we've progressed a little bit. We get to go to the store and buy our beef and, have a different type of relationship with people. So,
yes. Okay, so dear listeners, you can get more information about the men and the masculinity on our show, Mind Over Masculinity,
mm,
and you can definitely look for the different discussions on this. I mean, which is true. I totally agree with Roy. So, uh, also, like when we're discussing about this, about the long-term relationship, right? So, what according to you will be kind of small or tiny the body signal, like the body language, maybe the tone or what, like that flips a moment from kind of uh managerial to the magnetic ones.
say the last part again. Switches from what
uh,
to what?
okay, so like either what kind of signal, like body language or maybe the tone of the body,
Mhm.
which can move from managerial to magnetic.
Okay. Yeah. From manager to magnetic. Right. That's a good question.
Yeah, great
Right.
question.
Okay. So,
Mhm.
um, could could the question be, how do I turn my wife on?
Kind of signal, I mean, how someone will understand.
Okay.
uh, yeah.
Well, what we would say, we wouldn't leave it just
Mm.
to physical signals.
Yeah.
We are very clear. I will ask my wife on a regular basis. She will ask me, "Darling, would you like to make love today?" Absolutely. When would you like to make love? In the morning or this afternoon? Right.
Mm.
And so, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. Now she'll ask me the same thing, right? I'll be in the middle of my day doing my whatever it is. Darling, would you like to make love today? Absolutely. And then there is the gentle touch, there's the knowing, there's the emotional connection.
Yeah. So I think for women, when we feel like we are the priority, that you
Mm.
care about my emotions as much as you care about my body, that's very attractive. So if we're out to dinner and we're having great conversations where I feel like I matter, you care about what's on my heart and my mind, then I'm going to probably lean in and be more flirtatious. But that's the way that you unlock a woman.
Right.
But then we also take that verbal and emotional intimacy into our physical intimacy. And so this is funny. Like I was embarrassed when we're in our first together and we made love and he was like, okay, so like let's debrief, let's talk about that. And I'm just dying, right? I'm like beet red. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're talking about this. And I was super uncomfortable. I had never had a conversation in a recap about physical intimacy. And once I got over myself and started really talking about what I liked and maybe what I didn't care for, or
Yeah.
can I,
What worked? What
yeah,
didn't work? What felt good? What was a little uncomfortable that, all right,
yeah. So
maybe.
After about 5 conversations of doing that, I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I can do this." But I even used to get embarrassed in couples counseling. Premarital counseling, I'm like, "Okay, physical intimacy, you guys can do this one at home. Let's" n I was so embarrassed about talking about it. But now that we do, that has made our physical intimacy so important, so much better.
Right. Feel so good.
Yeah, so by
Mhm.
talking about it, it just improves it. So people are like, "Wow, you guys make love a lot." Yeah, because it's amazing. But we did the work. We invest verbally and emotionally every day. I think people would be surprised by how much we communicate and how
Right.
much we share. And then we took that into the physical and really made sure that we both knew how to physically please the other person.
Right.
And women always say to me, "Yeah, but that's not sexy talking about sex." I'm like, "No, but good sex is sexy. So talk about it a few times and then you're going to have
Right.
great love."
Amazing. Amazing. So also the rituals, right? Uh, if you talk about uh, because you argue about the luxury, right? I know
Right.
tension, which is the design and depth of the experience as well. If I may ask, like, if you can give us a $0 luxury ritual for the couples,
Yeah.
concrete this week. So, uh, for 2 minutes. So, what would you suggest?
So if you go to Aria Lux Life, right, and they go to the website, you can see the designer crystal bottle that sits on our nightstand. And for us, that's a reminder of how luxurious, how important our intimate life is. It's supposed to be a reminder. Every time I walk into the bedroom, there's the bottle of personal lubricant. And people will
Mm.
say, well, I don't need that. Well, it's like getting a back massage without massage oil. Why would you do that? Yeah, you can do it, but let's upgrade. Let's live a luxurious life. So you might not need it, but a couple pumps of this beautiful silicone and she's going to feel better. It's just going to feel smoother, softer on my hands, on where she's touching me. And absolutely, it is a luxury. But we think that your intimacy is worth that luxury. It's
Mm.
very, very, very important. And we think luxury is a huge opportunity for couples to really feel a deeper sense of pleasure.
Okay, exactly. That's a runway really and realistic, I'd say. Uh, Definitely, presence is the real premium. So,
Mhm.
uh, if you have to give one advice to the listeners, or maybe the couples, especially,
Yeah.
what that would be?
What
What would that be? One piece of advice.
I wish that everyone would read a book a year
Mhm.
on relationships
Oh,
or just go in for an annual checkup to a counselor. Just we have our counselor.
yep.
Every therapist is supposed to have a therapist, and we do. And we meet with him quarterly, whether we need it or not.
Right.
And we do that out of a habit and a principle that if we do need to call Dr. Needham, then he's already brought up to speed because we don't have that many problems. But um, if we don't talk to him for 9 months, there's just a lot of back history. So we just meet with him and let him know what's going on in life and talk through everything and sometimes bounce him things off of him. But I think that if couples did that out of habit, like, let's just
Mm.
keep doing our continuing education on our relationship,
Mhm.
then we could avoid a lot of future problems. A lot of times by the time people make it to our office, one person is already checked out,
Yeah.
and then they're just doing it to check the box to say, "Well, we tried."
Yeah.
So I wish that more people could do the work ahead of time and be more preventative instead of
And I would say to add on that, I would say make your relationship your hobby. Make it your number one hobby. I mean, y'all play cricket over there, right? And
Yeah.
I understand that cricket lasts a couple days. Is that true? Yeah. So
Yes.
you know the players, you know the stats, you know all of this stuff. What if you knew as much about relationships as you knew about cricket or football or
Mhm.
golf or whatever your hobby is? You know, this relationship that we have, she's my first priority. She's more than a hobby, obviously. But if I think about my hobbies, how much I watch a golf video or a cricket video, how much I'm on YouTube. Well, why not throw a couple TikToks about how to have a great relationship? If men did that, it would blow their wives' mind, and their wives would blow them. Oh, sorry. Which is, the pleasure principle, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
Yeah. Lovely, lovely. Dr. Amy and Roy, thank you so much for making the intimacy feel artful and achievable. And for all the listeners, I have to say that pick one ritual, like we're talking about. So pick one ritual tonight, keep it visible, keep it tiny, and keep it kind. So, so Dr. Amy and Roy, if someone wants to connect with you or have a query about the area intimacy cards and they want to talk about the intimacy, so
Yeah.
how they can connect?
So if you go to Aria, ARIA, Lux, LUXE, Life, arialuxlife.com, we have a contact page there. You can reach out to us there, and you can see our lube, our book, everything's there. arialuxlife.com.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And if this episode has sparked something, please share it with your partner and do leave us a review for Pleasure Principles, because this will help us to bring you more discussions like this. And with this hope, this is the host Avik reminding you that the pleasure is not a kind of luck, it's the practice. The more you do, the more pleasure will be. So, see you next time. Thank you so much.